Are you ready?
Power.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay, let's party.
It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal, and DK is not with me tonight. We have Jeremy standing in place of Mr. DKM. Oh, what? Oh, she's adorable.
That's you. You're live on YouTube.
You just made your
YouTube famous. You made your YouTube debut. Yes. Yes, you did.
That's awesome, man. Is she hanging out all night?
For a few moments. Till she gets fussy, probably.
That's cool, man. My daughters have made an appearance on it, so your granddaughter is more than welcome to be on this podcast anytime, and you know that. This is the Alliance Guys podcast. What we do here each and every Thursday night is talk NWA with you, that hashtag NWA fam. And what we do is we kind of go through the news and information of the NWA throughout the week, kind of bring it all to you here tonight to discuss, digest, and then we'll recap, review, retcon, and reconsider all things NWA Power, NWA USA as we storm into Alwayz Ready. And there's some crazy stuff been happening leading up to Alwayz Ready. Jeremy, you've been up to date with all this? You see what's going on?
It's concerning. I won't be surprised if Cardona does show up. But I won't be surprised if he doesn't either. You got an arm tear. That's, but you're the NWA champion as well. So
for those,
you've got to step up to the plate.
For those who haven't seen it. The minute that goes down, that was at Game Changer Wrestling. Oh, the minute Christian Blake lands on Matt Cardona, you see him grab that arm almost immediately. Right after the impact, you see him wiggle his fingers, which we know that's a sign of testing if the arm is still functioning. So he must have legitimately thought it was injured at that time. And, all reports are he will, in fact, be at Alwayz Ready. The official announcement has only said that he will be there. That hasn't actually said he will be wrestling. So that's something to keep in mind. I do want to play this audio real quick. Let me just pull this up real quick before we get into everything else, because I think it's important. Yeah. But I want to just play this real quick. I hope this works.
The doctor is suggesting surgery, which I will be getting on Tuesday. But there is no way I'm not coming to a pay-per-view named after me. I will be there. I don't know what exactly is going to happen. I don't know exactly what's going to go down. I'm going to be there. I'm going to have the 10 pounds of gold with me. And that's really Billy's decision, what he wants to do.
I'm sorry that happened to you. Sorry you tore your bicep.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, part of me wanted to just tape it up and work through it. But I want to be doing this for a long, long time, so it's probably better that I get it taken care of right now. And there's no good time to get hurt, but this certainly isn't it. NWA World Heavyweight Champion, having a pay-per-view named after me, just being the king of the Indies, the Deathmatch Chamber at Slammiversary coming up. This is not a good time to get hurt, but shit happens, right?
What's the verdict with the doctor?
I don't know. Did that come out for everyone who's watching? I'm not sure if it did or not. And if it didn't, I apologize in advance. But essentially, as we know, our world's heavyweight champion said he'll be there. The doctor is suggesting surgery for him for his arm. He is elected to postpone surgery until the Tuesday following the pay-per-view, which means he might be at the TV taping, he'll definitely be at the pay-per-view. He might be at Knocks Out, but he probably won't be there for the Power tapings that happen the Tuesday and Wednesday following. So, again, it's a big deal, and we might be without a world champion for a while. What do you think about that, Jeremy? What do you think the NWA should do?
This is a tricky situation because, how long are you going to be out? That's anywhere from 3 to 6 months, if not longer. So, do you put it back on Aldis? I don't want to see it, but if necessity calls for it, I mean, I guess that's what has to happen unless, they allow Murdoch to come in and do a run-in and get the pin, get his belt back. I don't know, but something's got to be done if he's not going to be around for a while.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, there's so many variables, right? And everything right now is just hearsay because none of us are doctors. None of us have seen the x-rays. And honestly, none of us are really qualified to determine how or if he's able to actually step back in the ring. But, you have to look at it on paper. He won't be able to compete if his arm is if he's got that torn bicep, like he said. He just can't. Maybe he could get in there and do a death match. But even that, I don't put a lot of stock into that because, again, he's injured. So if he can get through this match, is he going to be ready for the 74th anniversary, which is supposed to be like in August? That's right. That's a 2-month window. I don't see him being healthy in 2 months, not from this kind of injury. It's usually a couple of months, 6 to 8 months that you're out with this kind of an injury. And I know stranger things have happened. But here's the kicker too, right? We all know that Chelsea Green famously feigned an injury in Impact with her broken arm. Everyone thought, oh, she broke it again. And it was just a work. And I'm wondering, could this be a work? Could the world's heavyweight champion, Alwayz Ready, Matt Cardona, be working the crowd, working us fans? It's happened before with the Cardonas. You think it could be happening now?
It could be. I wouldn't put it past him. It would definitely play into who he is as a champion. I don't care for his tactics. They're quite low, underhanded even for a heel. So, but he's doing what he's got to do to get that gold, and that's what wrestling asks of you. You've got to be willing to do whatever it takes, put your body on the line or whatever, and he's playing the game.
And our buddy Heebs was in the chat on Tuesday, and he was hinting that he had heard from a source, which I don't know who that source is, that maybe a bounty hunter might come in and substitute for Cardona. Perhaps, and his word on the street is it's Adam Scherr from formerly known as Braun Strowman Titan. I don't know if I'm going to put too much stock in that, but that's what our buddy Heebs is hoping for, and that's what he's out there. That's what he's pushing out on the kids right now. What do you think about that?
Good for Adam Scherr if he can get a paycheck. I never want to see any talent go without a paycheck. And he's been to the grandest stage. He's been there, done that. So it would be a get. It would get eyes, but what kind of eyes? Will they hang around? Well, that's the main question. Or will they hang around after he's gone? That's the only thing that I want more than anything is, if somebody brings you in, hang around after they're gone. If you like what you see, hang around. Tell everybody.
Well,
You
and
know?
it's like so the NWA has really benefited from the momentum of certain people, right? When Billy Corgan purchased the NWA, Tim Storm was your world's heavyweight champion, and nothing against Tim Storm. I respect that man more than most of the former NWA champions. He's a guy that was able to get to Japan, not New Japan, but he was able to defend the 10 pounds of gold in Japan. He carried that title with class, dignity, and respect. And he's, behind the scenes, he's an awesome guy too. But as champion, he did all he could for the NWA. And the minute that there was somebody who had more appeal for Billy and the NWA, they went with Nick Aldis. And I can't say that I blame him. Nick Aldis is a former world champion in both Impact and Jeff Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling. He also held the Ring Ka King World Championship before becoming the NWA World Champion. So, I mean, the guy had a great resume. And then when you look at him, he's built like $1 million. He looks like a rock star. He's like the prototypical version of what a pro wrestler is supposed to look like. And, I say he's a 5-tool athlete, and he has been. His reign was great. That first reign as world champion I don't think there's anything that is comparable to that in pro wrestling today. And then you got Cody Rhodes. And even more people started watching when Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis were feuding over that title. And I mean, there was tons of episodes of the 10 pounds of gold or the Elite YouTube channel show where Cody was talking about becoming world's heavyweight champion. And then, of course, all those eyeballs on the 10 pounds of gold, on Nick Aldis, on Cody Rhodes, I really felt was a fever pitch for the NWA. I feel like it really pushed them forward in terms of gaining a fan base. And I think for the most part, that fan base stayed through Aldis's reign. But during the pandemic, I really feel like a lot of that fan base might have dropped off. Yeah. So, when they went to Trevor, when they went to Matt, I do feel like they were trying to regain some of that lost fan base that they had from just pre-pandemic. And I don't know if they've got there yet. And of course, an injury like this can really screw everything up because, again, we don't know what the game plan is, right? We don't know what the booking sheet says. But if the idea that Matt Cardona was going to win this match and then go on to something bigger or better at the 74th anniversary show, we might not be able to get there because of this injury. But that's also the nature of the beast of pro wrestling. It's not flag football. You're out there doing a physical sport, and there are times you're going to get injured. The only wild thing I keep thinking about is imagine if these guys were all under contract to the NWA and all these other wrestling promotions were not able to use Matt Cardona. You know what I mean? Like if Game Changer Wrestling didn't have access to Matt Cardona, that injury doesn't happen. Right. And I'm not saying that Christian Blake was unsafe. I'm not saying that Game Changer Wrestling is responsible for the injury. It's a freak accident. But if he was exclusive to the NWA, that doesn't happen.
At all.
So we do have a lot of people in the chat. I think someone you're familiar with is here too.
Yeah, that's my son.
Hey, Damian, welcome to the show. Thanks for checking us out. Someone else new to the show is Unseen Shifter. I'm not familiar with you, but thanks for checking us out tonight. Of course, Luthez is in the house. Willie Bowen's in the house. Dave Scooby's here. We appreciate all of you guys being here. Sean Mega, Chris Drummond. Gosh, a lot of you guys. Scott Steiner dislikes modern wrestling. I think that might be my new favorite handle. More of the NWA news before we get to the shows. Of course, we do know a little. If I'm doing a little bit of housekeeping myself, I do want to say that in the last few weeks, we've done a few interviews with some of the past and present of the NWA. And one was with Chance Prophet. I spoke to him just a few weeks ago. And then also just recently, we spoke to Jeff Capo on Tuesday. If you haven't checked those out, please do so. A lot more intimate conversations with the people that helped take the NWA from where it was and brought it to where it is now. And I do like to give, those guys their just desserts because they certainly, the way I feel, the NWA, if we don't have these guys that were there to carry it today, or back then, if they weren't there to carry it then that we don't have anything today to talk about. And I'm sorry if I'm bouncing all over the place. I've had a lot of caffeine today. So, and then next up, we want to wish AJ Styles a very happy birthday. He's definitely somebody I think should be in pretty much every pro wrestling Hall of Fame, considering his accomplishments, not only in the early days of TNA, when he was a two-time NWA World's Heavyweight Champion and NWA Tag Team Champion, held the X Division title probably more times than I can even count. And then not only to do that, but to come back and win the Impact Championship and IWGP World Championship, and of course all of his success that he's had in the WWE. Want to wish AJ Styles a very happy birthday. AJ Styles is a guy that really, to me, made the NWA seem cool when he was wrestling for that belt. You know, you had Jeff Jarrett with the title. Ron Killings obviously was a lot of fun, but AJ Styles made the NWA feel cool to me at a time when it was kind of more considered old school and traditional. Do you have any memories of AJ Styles that you'd like to share, Jeremy?
So before he got into the WWE, I had seen him here and there in Impact. That's not one that I watched regularly. It just didn't hold my interest. But then once he got into the WWE, I got interested in him and I started going back and watching him. And his growth over the years from his beginning in NWA, TNA to what he is now, he goes by the phenomenal one for a reason. The man can go.
Yeah.
It's delightful to watch him wrestle. It's poetry in motion. You know, he goes out there and he makes everything believable. You know, and that's what I'm there to watch. That's why I'm watching. You know, I want to be fooled.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
And he does it just about every time.
I just remember his evolution from like a traditional, what we would kind of call like a cruiserweight wrestler, with the high risk style of wrestling, who really kind of matured into like an all around pro wrestler. He'll still take risks every now and then, but like you know, when you watch him in those early days of TNA and he was like skinning the cat as he hopped over the rope, I mean, he was very that's what I'm looking for. It's kind of like a daredevil, right? He took a lot of high risks, and you know, for someone like him to take those kind of risks and still be around is kind of amazing in and of itself. But the fact that he kind of kept growing as a wrestler and evolved as a wrestler, and he
didn't have to rely on all that high flying anymore, you know, all those risky moves. And that's where I take my hat off to you and I applaud you. You know, you can transcend past that. I love all that stuff, don't get me wrong, but you know, you've got to be aware that if this is what you're wanting to make your money off of, you've got to plan them. You know, got to make them worth it, make them count.
And the fact that he's been around for so long, I mean, we're talking 2002 was basically the genesis of Impact Wrestling, Total Nonstop Action, and the fact that he was there, and we're talking that's 20 years ago, and he's been on a high level. And I don't mean like, you know, he when he was competing in Ring of Honor, even though he wasn't world champion, it was always at a high level. When he was competing in Impact, again, always at that high level of competition. To go from that to New Japan to WWE, I mean, you have to tip your hat to that guy.
Yeah.
Just some comments real quick. Sean Mega says Abyss versus Styles at Lockdown is his favorite AJ match. Sean Vega also says Ron Killings is a Hall of Famer. Yeah, I agree with that too. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big Ron Killings fan. Part of me wishes that he would, you know, when his contract's up with the WWE, if he just came back for one more run with the NWA, I think that'd be a lot of fun. Willie Bowen, our pal, says, don't forget Rhino, Gore. Rhino was cool too, man. And I'll take, you know, I'll also throw in that I thought Raven as NWA World Champion was really cool too. But there was that run where you had Jarrett, who was very stuffy, They had Sting in, and as much as I'm a Sting guy, like I love Sting growing up, he was always kind of a WCW guy to me, like the early Jim Crockett Promotions WCW guy. So it wasn't the same to me anyway. And then just more comments. Willie Bowen says AJ Styles versus Jackass Jeff Jarrett in a cage match with Tito Ortiz as the guest referee. That was good. That's a good one. Scott Steiner dislikes modern wrestling, which I'm telling you, that's my new favorite screen name. AJ was in WCW in the very late days of their existence. Yeah, I remember that. Him and Air Paris. I don't remember what that team name was, but I even remember thinking back then that he had something special. And Willie Bowen also brings up AJ was also wrestling for NWA Wildside. Yeah, a lot of those Wildside wrestlers were also competing on the WCW programming, mostly like the main event Saturday night, usually as enhancement talent. But AJ actually had some opportunities, and then he famously had turned down a WWE contract because the money just wasn't good enough. And then a few months later, he ended up in what would be, TNA Wrestling and was a part of all that. So obviously he made some good choices for himself. Wow. Then the next thing also is I do want to point out that our World Tag Team Champions will be in the UK next week. Let me take off that comment. Sorry, Willie. Going big time, where the Kings of the North will take on La Rebellion, where both tag titles will be on the line in Liverpool. And that'll be the TNT Tag Team Champions versus the NWA Tag Team Champions. And I don't know, man. I don't know much about the Kings of the North, but that kind of looks like a banger just from the graphic. What do you think?
Yeah, the Kings of the North are fun. I can't remember where it was that I caught them, but I've seen them wrestle a couple of times, and them and La Rebellion that'll be a hoss fight. That'll just be four guys that just go in there and just love to bang it out together and just hand a skull,
And the crazy thing about that is, so on the 9th, they're in the UK wrestling a British tag team in the UK, and then they come back on Saturday to wrestle the Commonwealth Connection again. We're talking about just 2 or 3 days later. And with travel, I mean, those guys are going to be major jet lagged. That can spell trouble for La Rebellion.
That's the schedule right there.
I mean, that's a rock star schedule, and I mean that's like that's a WWE type schedule. So I'm excited for them. I'm happy for them, but at the same time, like you're playing a dangerous game, friendo.
Yeah.
The last little bit of wrestling news for the NWA before we get to the shows that we recap and review is coming out of the Busted Open Radio. If you guys aren't subscribed to Sirius Radio, there is a show that appears every Monday through Saturday in their morning spot called Busted Open on the Fight Nation station. And it's hosted by Dave LaGreca, who's a longtime wrestling fan. And he has basically like a carousel of hosts that come on with him, which include Mark Henry, the world's strongest man, Tommy Dreamer, Mickey James, Thunder Rosa comes on Fridays, but Bully Ray of tag team fame has held every relevant tag team title in this generation, from the IWGP tag titles to the WWE tag titles, ECW, technically the WCW tag titles, the NWA tag titles. I mean, truly a tag team specialist, one of the greatest of all time. And as a former Impact heavyweight champion, I don't know if I said it, NWA World Tag Team Champion as well. And, since since leaving WWE, he started training wrestlers as well. In fact, he's responsible for training many wrestlers, like Wrecking Ball Legursky is one of his students, but also so is Kamille. Kamille got her initial training at the Team 3D Academy, and so did Killian King. And so as part of, I don't know if what chicanery comes with this, but Bully Ray will be the special commentator for Alwayz Ready during the World's Women's Championship match, that Burke title match as he has been both the trainer for both competitors in that match, both the champion and the challenger, which kind of opens up a can of worms, right, Jeremy? It's stuff that we've been alluding to for some time.
Yeah.
And in fact, I don't know if I could pull it up. I can't. I don't have a way to pull it up. But famously, before the 73rd anniversary show, Bully was kind of shit talking Nick Aldis and mentioned like, "Hey, don't push me. I will come to the NWA and I will take that title whenever I feel like it." And we're fast forward a year later, and I'm not trying to read the tea leaves or stir the pot, but there's still his ex-girlfriend, who is Velvet Sky, who they're both very amicable and both very at least polite to each other through social media. She has an opportunity to give any wrestler, or herself take it, an opportunity to challenge for any title in the NWA.
Yeah.
So let's just put that out there. Yeah. There's a cash in, and I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. And believe me, nobody gives me any booking sheets. I'm not on the short list of Billy Corgan call-ins, but could we see Bully Ray step in to fight Nick Aldis for the 10 pounds of gold at Alwayz Ready? What do you think?
I like it. I'm not the biggest Bully Bubba Ray fan. I loved the Dudley Boys, Team 3D, all that, but it makes dollars and cents though. That'll get butts in the seats.
Well, and that's the thing. They're teasing it as a surprise, right? Well, excuse me.
Right.
Let me rephrase that. His involvement with the show is strictly as a commentator on night one, and the master of ceremony, commentator, and then a master of ceremonies on night number 2.
So, night number 2 completely opens him up to run out whenever he wants to. Surprisingly, he could do it from the commentary table as well, but
yeah. And as I'm looking at the comments here, I know Sean Mega said no, Jay. Hey man, it's not if the ball is in motion, it's not because of me. I'm telling you that right now. Nobody in the NWA is taking my booking suggestions. Dave Scooby says Bully has a past with Knox from TNA Aces and Eights.
Yes.
So there is connection there.
There's that connection there. Yes.
Chris Drummond says, I'd rather see Bully as champion than Nicky James, which that's another great nickname. So, I mean, we prophesized this about a year ago when that championship series came to fruition, that at any time, especially with Bully being so pronounced on Busted Open Radio about how he could come to the NWA at any point and get a title shot, and the relationship that at least the radio show has with the NWA, they're very supportive of the brand. Billy Corgan basically has a open pass to come on the show anytime, and they're always putting over what the NWA is doing. They were very influential in the Trevor Murdoch and Matt Cardona feud, as they were, had both men on the radio, and basically Matt Cardona run Trevor Murdoch into the ground on that show. So it's at the very least, it's something to consider. Don't be shocked if Bully Ray is somehow interjected into that world title match, either on the pay-per-view Sunday night or the following Monday, with his connections to Velvet Sky. I mean, it's all kind of laid out there for us. Who knows if that's the route they're going to choose to take.
Right.
One thing, Scott Steiner dislikes modern wrestling brings up something that I think at the very least we should talk about, is that MJF promo. I'm not a huge AEW fan. I mean, I love Scorpio Sky. He's one of my favorite athletes to watch in pro wrestling. There's a lot of great talents in AEW, but I'll be the first one to admit that I don't really watch the programming. But you had to be living under a stone the last week to not know about the situation that's been brewing between Tony Khan, the president of AEW, and of course MJF. And there's a lot of hearsay. As the promo indicates, we don't know shit, according to MJF. We're not there. We're not the guys who are signing the checks. We're not in the back scenes. We don't know about the negotiations. But the rumor has it that MJF did not make his appearance for the autograph signing and threatened not to show up for the pay-per-view. Eventually it happened. He did show up. He took 10 power bombs from Wardlow, and then last night just let it all hang out. Did you hear the promo, and what did you think about it?
I did hear it. If it's a shoot, then how did you get out there? I don't know. It was too reminiscent of Punk's pipe bomb.
For sure.
Through the mic cut and everything.
It wasn't shot for shot, but there's definitely a lot of elements that carried over from the Punk promo to MJF.
Right. And then it just, I don't know. Again, this goes back to, though, I want to be fooled.
Yeah.
I want to believe that that he's ready to come across the top rope and just pounce on Tony Khan and get all of his frustrations out on him.
Yeah. And the thing about it too is, if you type in MJF promo, into YouTube,
yeah,
you don't see it on the AEW channel. It's elsewhere. You know what I mean? It's not like,
right.
Like they're not profiting from these videos that are being viewed. And like, I'm looking at one right now, 62,000 views, 77,000 views, 5.7 views from the promo from just last night.
Yeah.
You tell me that, like that's money. And they aren't cashing in on it. It's not AEW that's making money off of that promo. And if anything, there's a good chance they might have gotten fined last night by the FCC because you're not allowed to use that word on programming.
Yeah, and he was firing it off quite a bit.
Yeah, and he was very fired up. Chris Drummond said MJF is the 21st century Roddy Piper, which I totally agree with.
Yes.
Sean Mega says it's the fake situation, which it could be, right? I mean, this is something that, and Dave Scooby says it too. It's a worked shoot, blurred reality.
Yeah,
and there's probably some realism to it, and there's probably some serious animosity to it. But if there's a way to make money while airing your grievances, then I mean, who would be against that?
Right.
And like I said, if there's literally 62,000 people who watched that promo last night, have watched it since, watched it on social media, watched it on YouTube. I mean, just imagine the interest that's there from the AEW crowd. So yeah. Sean Mega says it sounds like something from Vince Russo. And I mean, I was just talking about this the other day with a friend of mine when Hulk Hogan had Jarrett in the ring and Jarrett just laid down and Hogan pinned him and walked off the ring pissed off. And Russo was like, that's right, Hogan, get out of here. That's the last belt you'll ever win, or something along those lines. And it just, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an AEW fan. I'm not an expert, but it makes me want to see more.
Yeah. And that's what you're there to do. Put butts in the seat. Get more eyes on the product.
Yeah. So I just want to get to some more of the comments, and then we'll get into the show. Chris said that Billy couldn't buy Impact, so he turns the NWA into TNA 2.0. I mean, look, we talked about blurred lines. It's like the roster for both programs seem to have been blurred as of late, with Mickie James bouncing back and forth between the shows. You've got, you've got the OGK as part of the Honor No More group, and then you've got the Briscoes winning the tag titles. The Briscoes just won the Crockett Cup. Now they're the Impact Tag Team Champions. You've got Matt Cardona and his wife Chelsea Green bouncing back and forth between both programs. I mean, there is definitely a blurred line between the two shows, Power and Impact's weekly program, and it's starting to feel like maybe there isn't much of a blurred line. Maybe it's just open door policy, and it's not this forbidden door like Tony Khan speaks of, but maybe just the ability for talent to come and go as they please. The thing about Impact is they don't have the same kind of money that Vince McMahon has or that Tony Khan has. They can't just sign every single talent for long term with millions and millions of dollars. I kind of feel like they've done maybe the smart move in having a few of their key figures signed and then having the ability for the other talents to kind of come and go as they please.
Right.
Sean Mega agrees with the TNA 2.0.
Yeah.
Man, that's harsh, guys. That's harsh.
If the shoe fits, though.
I mean, look, he's not wrong. He's out of line, but he's not wrong. It's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow because as a longtime NWA fan, I was one of those guys who was so excited back in 2007 when the NWA took back its intellectual property, took the world title, took the tag titles, took the NWA name, and started on its own path. And ever since then, there has been a delineation between Impact Wrestling and the National Wrestling Alliance. And
Right.
over the last few months, maybe even year or so, look, even when Billy first bought the NWA, he said, "Look, we'll work with anybody except Impact." And then even after, if you guys remember, Willie Mack was the NWA National Champion. He famously lost the belt to Colt Cabana at the Crockett Cup 2019. And next thing you know, he was signed to Impact. And there was a lot of animosity from the NWA towards Impact, even way back then. So it's certainly a little, at least puzzling, I think might be the word, to see that they're working so closely together again. But to the comments that were in the chat, I mean, some of these angles came directly from. That's not good. All right, well, I'm gonna fidget here for a second to get another camera working, but I'm still here, so we're still here in the chat, guys. Don't think that I left anywhere. Yeah, I mean, some of the storylines have been very reminiscent of Impact, where you have the Beautiful People reunion and some of the stuff between Chelsea Green and Mickie James, all being kind of based in that gimmick and stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely funny how, and I'd forgotten that he had said that I'll work with anybody but Impact. And he very decisively said that. And now, that's a huge chunk of your roster.
Yeah.
One of their former champions is carrying your belt.
Yeah. I'm here. I'm just trying to get going. So give me just a second here. Why is it not letting me jump in? Okay.
But in the long run, though, that makes for more accessibility. You can't. It's foolish to say I'll work with everyone, but this one company. Dixie Carter wasn't there anymore, so that's who, if I remember right, his main gripe was with.
All right.
No mic. No mic.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
You can hear me. I just can't hear you. That's great.
Oh, wow.
How about now? Now.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, we got that figured out. Awesome. So, anyways, yeah. So this is going to be interesting. I haven't done this before like this.
Lost the mic again. There we go.
All right. So we're going to figure something out here in just a second. Give me just a second. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to be this unprofessional, but this is.
We're live, baby. Anything can happen.
That's right. Okay. All right. Now we should be good.
Yes.
No echo. We're good.
No echo. We're good.
All right, beautiful. All right. So now we're on the cell phone. So this is great. This will work. Okay.
That's what I'm on, is on my cell phone. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's look, it works well, and I should have wiped off the camera before I put it on, but let me just do that real quick. There we go. Got a better picture. All right. There it is. That's the best it's gonna get. Damian Cole, your boy says the show must go on. Yes, it does. So some more of the comments here too is sorry, I'm getting caught up. Scott Steiner dislikes modern wrestling says, did you see that AEW pulled MJF's merch and removed him from the roster page? He made me interested in AEW and made me want to buy some merch, and it's been pulled. I mean, it's the law of supply and demand, right? Now that you can't buy it, now you want to buy it, and if this is a work, they're going to profit from this later down the road, for sure. And Sean Mega says, is Aldous Murdoch Cardona drawing? If not, build up younger wrestlers. I know there's an audience for Nick Aldis. I know that he has a fan base. I know that Matt Cardona has a fan base. Trevor Murdoch, I think, has less of a loud fan base, but there are people who love Trevor Murdoch. I love the Trevor Murdoch that we're getting now, and I hope to see more of this Trevor Murdoch in the future. Are any of them drawing? I mean, when Cardona was put on that card for the Power Trip, the first one, they weren't sold out. As soon as his name was attached to the event, it became a sold-out event. Crockett Cup night number 2 definitely had more people in attendance than night number 1. So, I mean, there is something to say about all of that. Sorry, I'm just kind of going through the comments. Dodie says, nah, Jay After Dark. No, Jay After Dark. We're not doing that. Chris Drummond says the British invasion came from TNA. Also another perfectly appropriate point. Sean Mega says that doesn't make sense booking promoting wise if you can't make money off of him while he's hot. Oh, that's going back to MJF. And I do believe, like, I think that point of that is if this is a shoot, which it could be, of course they're going to pull all the merchandise off, but I think they would have, I don't think they would have given him a microphone and allowed him to be in front of that audience if it was a legit shoot. If they thought for 1 second that he was going to go out there and do something unprofessional, I don't think they would have given him that opportunity. The fact that they allowed him to go out there and say whatever he wanted, he said a few cuss words before they actually turned that mic off. It wasn't until he called him an effing mark before they pulled it off. So I'm not sure. It's hard to decipher, and I don't know what the real answer is going to be, but it is what it is. With all that being said, let me take a deep breath. Okay. Dodie said it's the bearded duo again. I don't know if we can use that. I think that's technically still trademarked by This Is Pro Wrestling, but I'll let you know. I'll get back to you on that one.
Chris Drummond says, but let's all be happy all this will be able to save the NWA, not just from big bad Cardona family, but also Bully Ray, because all his career, all that's cared about is the fans. I mean, look, you're not wrong, Chris. I mean, I really feel like this Aldis is going to go heel the minute he wins the title. You know, I don't think he's going to be a baby face for very long.
No.
I'm not 100% convinced he's going to win the title at the pay-per-view either.
I'm not either.
And I didn't think he was leading up to the, before the injury. I thought it was still Cardona's title, but, after that injury, it's all kind of up for grabs.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do cover the show. That's a little bit of the NWA news and information. Plus, we're talking a little bit about AEW. We don't normally do that here for your first-time viewers if you have not viewed this podcast before. We're mostly an NWA podcast with some seasoning sprinkled in from the United Wrestling Network. But, if you guys want to talk about something, you could always bring it to our attention. I mean, former world's heavyweight champion Cody Rhodes is kind of killing it right now in the WWE. We can always talk about anything. That's what this makes this community great. It is an NWA community, but that doesn't mean wrestling doesn't happen outside of the NWA. We always acknowledge that. With that being said, though, let's talk about NWA USA, which that show kicked off with Kyle Davis and Jay Bradley. Now, this was kind of funny. I think Bradley is way better than people give him credit for. Bradley was disappointed that the broad with the gimmicks wasn't there, the one with the ink all over her arms. And I thought that was hilarious. And let's be honest, if you were had the opportunity to be interviewed by someone from the NWA, wouldn't you want it to be Mae Valentine? I think we all felt the same way that Bradley did. Bradley was well aware of his opponent, but he's saying that Brady Pierce is just not Fixer's material. This is my first time. Well, let's go to the promo. What did you think of Bradley's promo?
He cracks me up every time. I love his promos. I was happy whenever the show opened and it was him doing a promo, because it's kind of like the Scott Steiner syndrome. You never know what's going to come out of its mouth, but when it does, it's gold. There
was a when Jay Bradley first broke into the business, he was with the same group of Colt Cabana, Adam Pearce, CM Punk. And as a avid Southern California independent professional wrestling fan, I would go to the shows where I would see Jay Bradley quite a bit, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla specifically, and then of course the Inoki Dojo shows, which were a combination of the then New Japan Dojo mixed with some Ring of Honor talent. And those shows ended up becoming what NWA Hollywood or Championship Wrestling from Hollywood is today. And you would see Jay Bradley, but he never touched the mic. He was just a young kid who had a very aggressive style of wrestling in the ring, very much of a throwback to the old school. And the only thing that's changed about him is he's got facial hair and he can cut promos now. Same dude, same guy in the ring, same style of wrestling. And that's very, very, to me, that's very awesome. I'm glad he's finally getting that break with the NWA. He and Wrecking Ball Legursky are honestly, I think, some of the most entertaining talents in the NWA currently. And, they're starting to get booked outside of the NWA. They have a show coming up soon in Texas. I'm not sure which promotion, but I saw it recently. So, Wrecking Ball Legursky and Jay Bradley, the Fixers, coming to a town near you soon.
Awesome.
Dave Scooby says, I don't know if I can pull it up here. Let me try. Yeah, it worked. Dave Scooby says the Fixers remind me of Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah.
But they're both Pinky, and really Jay Bradley isn't the Brain though. I mean, he is, but he isn't. So this is a one-on-one match, which again, I don't have a problem with him doing these one-on-one matches with tag team wrestlers, but I feel like if he's your tag team, shouldn't he be in a tag team match? There's not enough NWA programming for me to take a tag team and split them up every once in a while. They should only be tag team wrestling.
Yes.
Bradley takes on Brady Pierce. And Pierce has a great look, man. He's jacked. He's again, we talk about that look of an athlete, that look of a pro wrestler. He certainly has it. They chat up on the commentary that he's the stunt double for the show Heels, which I've not checked out, but I've heard good things about. When Jay Bradley gets to the ringside, he still has that box of cereal, which is the become a fixture with the Fixers. He dumps it on the girl sitting ringside. I don't know if that was who that was, but he dumped cereal all over her. Bradley wastes no time going right after Pierce. Pierce puts up a pretty good fight, but he doesn't seem to get any momentum. Even when Pierce was trying to catch his win on the outside, Jay Bradley dove through the second rope, something you don't typically see a man his size do. Mid-match, Jay Bradley gives some clubbering forearms between shots, saying, "This is for Legursky, smash. This is for Velvet Sky, smash. I love you, Velvet, smash." It just that popped me. I thought it was awesome.
Same.
Brady Pierce gets in some decent offense in the match, but really just can't get any momentum going. And Bradley connects with his boomstick lariat for the victory. What'd you think of this one, Jeremy?
It was a good, solid introduction for Pierce. He was able to come out there. He got in some offense. You know, he like you said, he looks great. He looks the part. You know, and what offense he was able to get in, he's clean. He's solid. You know, I can see why he's doing stunt work on that show. I'm sure he probably. I wonder if maybe he got brought in by
Luke.
Hawks. Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. Luke Hawks
at all.
A very important part of that show. He does a lot of the stunt work and the wrestling work for that show, so that wouldn't surprise me at all if that's the case. But do you like the match?
I liked it. It was a good, solid match. It went the way that it should have. You know. He should have gotten a little bit of offense, but no more than what he got, and it should have just been basically a mugging, which it was.
And especially with a guy like Bradley, Bradley shouldn't be doing the job for almost anybody at this point.
No, and for a man his size, he went clean through those ropes. He did not touch those ropes going through.
And he did it with such ease too, and that kind of made me mad. Like, damn, you're like 320 pounds. How are you so aerodynamic?
I stand up fast off the couch and I may hurt my knee, you know.
Right. I hear you on that one.
But that was I was thoroughly impressed with it. He just clean, swoosh, right through.
Our pal Dave Scooby says Pierce has a good size, 6'5", can be built up if given time.
Yes.
I mean, in some regards, it kind of reminded me of Jordan Clearwater. You know, built well, had some size to him, and if they use him the right way, like this is an introduction, very fine introduction. You know, nobody needs to go 100, and you know, we don't need a Goldberg in the NWA.
No,
but it would be nice to see if this guy gets good, that he gets some, you know, some more repetition and see him grow with the NWA.
Yeah.
Next up, we go to the back with Kyle Davis yet again, and this time he's joined by Father James Mitchell, the Sinister Minister, and the Miserably Faithful. And I have no love for this gimmick. He tries to explain what the Miserably Faithful is, and this was everything that I hated about WWE in the 90s. You know, it just had these stupid over-the-top gimmicks. And, like, look, when you're The Undertaker, okay, you know what, we'll all buy into that. But, like, you know, there's a reason why the Dungeon of Doom sucked in WCW, and this is very much Dungeon of Doom style of pro wrestling.
God bless Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah. and, you know, if it was just James Mitchell and Judas, I'd be okay with that. But the fact that they're trying to make this into a family type thing, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. If it was just Mitchell and Judas, awesome. But trying to grow a stable out of it, I don't care for it. I like my pal Sal. You know, it's great to see him venturing off doing something else, and he's very convincing, you know.
Yeah.
But it's not for me, and we're not even going to talk about the other one. I'm just going to leave that one alone completely. But I remember catching Father James Mitchell on Impact whenever he was with Abyss, I believe. And I thought it was it's an interesting, it's a nice throwback to your old school pallbearers and the evilness of Mr. Fuji and stuff, it was cool, but it works for one person. It doesn't. I don't want to see your little band of freaks and geeks.
Right. And I think, if it was something like more like a devastating tag team, like a Legion of Doom-esque style of tag team, then maybe you're onto something. But like essentially Sal and, the other guy are junior heavyweights at best, maybe even featherweights, I mean, they're not big dudes. So you've got these little guys getting victories over dudes who are much, much bigger. And it's just, oh man.
It does. I don't.
Luthez says Sal does look like the guy at the back of the bus no one wants to sit next to. I mean, that's true. He also looks like he might smell of cat urine, but that's
yeah.
Dave Scooby says people that only know of Sal in his current NWA are missing out. Check out his Ring of Honor days. I mean, he held tag team titles, and I think in Ring of Honor. I know he held them in other places, and he was a very integral part of Wild Side / NWA Anarchy. I mean, the guy, he is a very accomplished pro wrestler. I wish there was more for him than what this is.
He was in the same class with John Cena. He got started and was in the same class as him and all those guys, so he's been around for a minute,
Yeah, for sure. And and again, it's not my cup of tea. So we'll just leave it at that. We'll get back to more of the results and dialogue from this show. You've got Mims taking on AJ Kazana. Now, this is the third time that these guys have shared the ring together. And I'm not, it's not the worst thing in the world, but just call it a best of 7 series and we'll wrap it up and call it a day.
Yeah.
Kazana and Mims are kind of built similar in size, but that might be about it. This is the third time they faced each other since the second night of Crockett Cup 2022, excuse me. And the entire match, Tyrus is giving backhanded compliments to Mims, including like, hey, Mims never actually body slammed me. It was more like an arm drag, that made me laugh. Mims will face Tyrus at Alwayz Ready because he body slammed Tyrus, but Tyrus is still debating that. He's the only one, though. Joe Galley acknowledged the Kazana family and the help that their help and the involvement that they have in bringing the NWA back to Kentucky, which that was kind of weird for me to hear because you're almost saying like, hey, look, the reason why this guy's on the show is because his pops is paying the bill for us to be in Kentucky.
Yep.
I mean, that's what I got from it.
That's exactly what I took away from it. I like the guy.
Yeah,
he's a solid wrestler. He's good. He's got a good look to him and everything. He looks like a bruiser. But that's exactly what I took from it. I'm here because my dad is helping out.
And the thing about him too is, I think, in a certain position in a certain place, I think he could work, right? Like, later in the show, maybe it's not this show, maybe it's Power. We get a promo with the Ill Begotten.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, like, wow, Jeremiah Plunkett and AJ Kazana could probably be a pretty fun tag team. And they could, give them like a fantastic gimmicks, let them be silly with bow ties and suspenders. Yep. And I was like, that would be fun. Friend of the show, Jeremiah Plunkett. But the match goes pretty much back and forth. At some points, Kazana looks to be like equal to Mims, and then sometimes he just looks completely outmatched.
Yes.
Mims gets the victory, but at what cost? It looks like he had some sore ribs after the match. He looked a little worse for wear on that one.
Just a bit. Again, like you said, I don't see why we're seeing this for a third time. Other than just to get Mims out there with somebody that could do some damage to him and give him some time in front of Tyrus for him to drop a chicken wing and talk about Mims for a moment. Oh, let me refer a chicken and talk about Mims for a moment. But I didn't. It was a match. I didn't have to see it again. It was the same match that it was the first time and the second time, essentially. If I'm going to see 3 matches from you guys in a row, change it up. Change up what you're doing out there.
The last match did end in a double, not a disqualification, but like a double time limit draw.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we did get a little bit slightly different, but again, like, we don't need to run back that match. It's not going to win feud of the year. If we're going to do that, why don't you bring in Jordan Clearwater? Let me see Jordan Clearwater and Marshe Rockett have a match or something like that.
Yeah.
The next match we get up is Jake Dumas and Jax Dane versus the Miserably Faithful. Now Jake Dumas is a guy that it seems like he's got a lot of support from the fan base. I think he's okay. I don't think he's horrible, but I don't think he's great either. I'm not entirely sold on the guy. Of course, the Miserably Faithful with Michael Judias, and Sal Renaro. The match starts off with Sal and Jax, which to me is kind of funny because those are two what I would consider NWA originals. In fact, I would even consider Judias an NWA original from his time in Anarchy and in Wildside. Jax refuses flat out to take off the vest, which is funny to me because, when I picture Jax Dane and knowing that he's from Bakewell, Tennessee, and he's the son of a farmer, I don't picture fur coats. But the man's wearing a fur vest. We saw him in a fur coat last week. It's one of those weird things. Tyrus keeps talking about how cool he is, and the announcers are trying to put over how cool Jax Dane is, which I'm all for it. I'm a big Jax Dane fan. Let's see. Jax is basically manhandling Sal Renaro. They tag in Jake Dumas. Jake and Sal are going back and forth, and then you got Jared Fritz coughing, and the magic trick. He pulled out a card, and then Sal puts it in his mouth. I mean, we're in COVID times still, guys. Stop doing shit like that.
Yeah.
While Fritz was admonishing the faithful, Jax connected with another big time lariat. While Sal is recovering, Jax comes over and tosses. I guess I forgot the part where Jake Dumas gets knocked outside of the ring by Renaro.
Yeah.
And Jax is there to kind of keep the Sinister Minister and Judias at bay. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place. So then Jax clotheslines Renaro when the referee was counting out Jax. Let's just call him the Magician. Well, he's counting out the Magician. Yeah. And Jax comes over, throws him back in the ring to break the count. Dumas is refusing to tag out, although you can verbally hear Jax saying, "Hey, come over here, make the tag." The Magician refuses to do so. Sal is able to tag in Judias, and Jax doesn't want anything to do with him.
Nope.
And this is it's very interesting because when you look at both these guys on paper, they're very similarly matched. I think, Judias looks better now than he did when he first came to the NWA, but he's still nowhere near the level of jacked that Jax Dane is.
No.
And, you would think hey, this is going to be good. Jax backs out of there very, very quickly, which is great heel work, right? Like that's what you want. Save that for a money match. We don't need to give that away for free. Ultimately, through all the chaos that's ensuing, Gags the Gimp comes out, delivers the sliced bread number 2 to Dumas, while Jax is trying to stay away from Judas. And, the Miserably Faithful get another victory. Thoughts on this one?
I loved how Jax never took the vest off. That was awesome and hilarious. Just this. You're not worth my time to take it off.
Yeah.
And I could honestly see him in Bakewell, Texas, in that vest, working in the middle of August. And
throwing
not
hay,
a sweat. Throwing hay and not breaking a sweat at all. It's just the man's a phenom. There's only one of him. Thank God.
Yeah. The world couldn't handle two.
No. But I get that the magician's a magician and all that, but I don't. It's kind of like Daivari's little magic carpet. I don't care to see it during the match.
No,
show me a magic trick. Show me it while you're coming out to the ring.
Yeah.
Pull a rabbit out your hat then. I don't want to see it during the match. It didn't make sense to me.
It didn't really add anything to the match either.
At all.
It was like a confusing point. Like at first, like even the announcer said, "Hey, is he having a medical emergency?" And it's like, well, wait a minute. Is he all right? What's going on? And then for that, like it didn't add to the match. If anything, it took away from the believability of it.
Yep. It completely pulled me out at that point of the match, honestly.
And I
went and got a bowl of cereal.
I think you made the right decision.
Yeah.
I think Jax Dane versus Judas would have been a much better match. I would have rather seen that.
Yeah.
You have these things available to you. Use them. Judas has not been like a killing machine like I would have thought he would have been when they brought him in. He would have been perfect fodder for somebody like Jax Dane. Let him have a real big Haas match. At the end of the day, when Jax Dane gets the victory, he beat somebody that was big and strong and tough. That's what I would rather have seen than a match like this one.
Yep. Because even though he didn't take the pin, he still lost in a tag match.
Yeah, and he's your national champion. He's a former North American champion. He's held the tag team titles. He's a former world champion. He defended that title. He wrestled in New Japan as a tag team champion. I mean, give the guy his credit. He's done almost everything there is to do in your company. Give him these matches that make him more of a monster. Because he could seriously be built up to be the number one contender for the world's heavyweight champion. He could be believable.
Easily.
His promos are pretty good, but if you don't like his promos, you got Chris Silvio there to help with the promos as well. I mean, there's a whole package right here that's where you put your money at. He's there. He's there.
Yep. And then you've got this monster heel that you take the belt off of every once in a while, and you just put him up against your new guys and let him build him up and tear him down at the same time.
Yeah.
And
in that way, like he never has to win the 10 pounds of gold again, right? He's cemented his legacy. But if you put him in that position where theoretically he could challenge for that world title at any moment, when somebody beats him, that's a big deal. When Anthony Mayweather comes back, if he comes back and beats Jax Dane, it's going to be a big, big deal. If the Pope were to come in and beat Jax Dane for a title shot at the world champion, it's a big deal. The way they're using him right now, if he loses, it's not a big disconnect.
No.
Okay, that's how the booking is.
Yep.
Dave Scooby says, I never understand why they have single champions in tag matches and tag team wrestlers in single matches. Let them do their thing. I agree.
Exactly.
Wholeheartedly.
Exactly.
And what's up to my pal Rick Del Santo? they just celebrated 200 episodes over at the Pro Wrestling Zone podcast. I do highly recommend you guys. This is not a paid endorsement. Rick's my pal, and I'll always help lift up what he's doing. If you guys are into pro wrestling talk, check out what they do over at the Pro Wrestling Zone podcast. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Rick's a good guy. And, he does a lot of NWA-themed content, too. The NWA Spotlight show that he does, they recently had the former World Junior Heavyweight Champion, the Boston Bad Boy, Jason Rumble, on it. If you guys haven't checked it out, do so, because, again, not only is Rick a pal, but he's a like-minded NWA fan as well. If he wasn't doing his own thing, I would invite him to become an Alliance guy, but he's got his own thing, so he doesn't need our sympathy. And so that was the end of NWA USA. I mean, that was a great show, kinda. Yeah. I mean, look, what I did like was seeing Jax Dane. I would have liked to see him booked better. Jay Bradley versus Brady Pierce was a lot of fun. Mims versus AJ Kazana just kind of felt hollow to me. So I guess I just kind of give it one of these. It wasn't awful. Yeah. It wasn't great.
I wasn't upset that I watched it, but it could have been better. But that's just me being nitpicky, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, I know that we nitpick a lot on this show, but at the same time, it's like, well, we pay for this, so we should be able to nitpick.
Right.
But this is a free show. You know what I mean? This isn't the A show. It's definitely their B show. And tonight it definitely felt like a B show.
Yeah, tonight it felt like a B show. But is it normally though?
No, it's not always that way. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it's surprisingly good.
It is. There have been more than a couple of times where I've been like, "Are you serious? It's over." More often than not, seriously, this is over.
Yeah. Our pal Dodie says, I want Wrecking Ball versus Kratos or Wrecking Ball versus Tyrus. I mean, that's a lot. You have to reinforce the ring if you put Wrecking Ball and Tyrus in the same ring. And I'll be honest, I don't know what Kratos' status is with the NWA at this point.
Yeah, I don't. When was the last time he was on?
Before the Crockett Cup, remember, he was double booked. He was booked for the New Japan events that were happening the same weekend. And
they got to me first.
Yeah, they got exactly.
Yep. And
Rick, of course, my brother. Anytime, what you guys are doing over there is great. I need to check out more of it. I'm a little behind on the spotlight, but keep doing what you're doing, Rick, and we keep supporting you over here at the Alliance guys. So that takes us to episode 9 of season 8 of NWA POWERRR. And great start to the show, having Colby Carino dressed to the nines, man. He looked like a champion. He was out there with Kyle Davis. He's talking about that he feels unfulfilled, that he doesn't hold an NWA championship, that he grew up looking at the 10 pounds of gold and, longing for the days that he would hold that belt. Now, he might not ever hold the 10 pounds of gold, but I'm most assured think he'll be a future junior heavyweight champion. He says that Homicide made his name at the expense of Carino bloodshed, and tonight he plans to repay the favor. Great promo, great way to open up the show. Very excited. And this was the only title match at Power Trip 2. This was the only title that was on the line. So to hear an impassioned Colby Carino put over the NWA, put over the feud that his father had with Homicide, all of that was cool. I dug it. What did you think?
I really liked it, and he hit all the bullet points. Who he's going against, why it matters to him, what he wants to accomplish, when it's going to happen. It was spot on. He came across like the douchey little celebrity rich kid, that he is. It was good. I enjoyed it for Colby Carino.
And I will say this: Kobe's been pretty good on the mic, right? Like I felt like he's been pretty cool on the mic. But this was like, to me, this felt like this felt like a big step for him.
Yes.
Like it was just a promo, but it felt like a big step for him. And I kind of, you know, when he first came onto the scene, I wasn't all that impressed. But the more I watch of him, the more he progresses, I'm really feeling like I'm starting to see something special here. And the cool thing about pro wrestling is, on a long enough time scale, everyone can have that shot. Everyone can have that opportunity if they earn it. And, you know, Colby doesn't need to be in the main event today, but, he can continue to do what he's doing right now at this level. And he could be a part of the future of the NWA. I firmly believe that.
Oh, yeah. He made it. I liked how he said I would come out of my room and I would see that NWA World Heavyweight title sitting on the mantle. And I don't have my own.
Yeah.
That hit. I was hooked right there. That hit for me, and it like I said, he made it. Like you said, it made it feel big. This seemed like it should have been the main event of the show itself overall, not just the episode that we saw.
And the fact that it was the title match, you know what I mean? Like, it was the only title match on the card. And because of those two things, I definitely thought we were going to have a different outcome than the one that we got. But overall, great promo. Good way to kick off the show. Should be noted that the announce booth was Joe Galley, flanked by both the co-managing directors of the NWA USA, Medusa and Tim Storm, which gives you a very distinct show. It's very different when you have Austin Idol and Velvet Sky out there. They basically wrote Velvet Sky off because she has a old wrestling injury that flared up. So she won't be on probably the next few weeks of programming while we go through the power trip. I really did like Tyrus out there. I know our pal Willie Bone is not a big fan, but him in the booth, I feel is like a much better place for him than him in the ring.
Oh yeah.
So with that being said, let's go to the first match of the night, which is the Distraction, Eric Jackson, taking on the instant classic Matt Vine. Now, the last time we saw Eric Jackson, he had eaten one of our pal Jack Stain's, he calls it like a pop-up clothesline. Tyrus called it a lariat. I mean, basically, it doesn't matter what name you call it. It takes somebody's head off each and every time. So now that he's got his head firmly reattached to his body, they put him in the ring with somebody who has a background of bodybuilding, so spent time in Ohio Valley, has a great look. Matt Vine looks good.
Yeah.
But I don't know how he fits into long-term plans with the NWA, but if they are starting to cycle in some new talent, I think he'll fit right in. Similarly to the match with Jack Stain, Eric Jackson just seems to be outclassed here. He should be petitioning the NWA to only be in that junior heavyweight division because he just looks like he's not in the right spot. I mean, there was even a spot where he struggled to try to slam Matt Vine, who just wiggled his way out of it. Yeah. And if you can't body slam your opponent, then maybe you shouldn't be in the heavyweight division. Just my 2 cents on it. Jackson got a little bit of decent offense in about 5 minutes into the match, but honestly, it was all Matt Vine. And at one point, Jackson goes for a high-risk double foot stomp that misses. He rolls through it, and he's rewarded for the nice roll after that by getting a chin music, super kick straight to the face. And that one did connect, and that one did land a 3 count. Good showing for classic Matt Vine. I could deal without ever seeing Eric Jackson again.
Yeah.
Wasn't impressed.
There was a couple of times where I saw him talking about what you're going to do next. And that's, but he is only 21 also.
Okay. I mean, that does count. That does account for some of it. Yeah. I do believe he's a student of Anthony Mayweather and the Tried and True Pro Wrestling Academy. So that's probably why he's there, because the last time he showed up in the NWA was also at the Power Trip that was in Oak Grove, Kentucky. I just felt like this match, Matt Vine got a shine from it, but it didn't do anything for Eric Jackson.
No, nothing at all. But being a student, that's could be what you're here for right now, to get squashed. Essentially, learn the ropes. Get in front of the camera a little bit. He's got a good look. He would be a monster in the junior heavyweight division. Because he's got a good size too. That was something.
When I looked at him, right, I got Taz vibes, and I know he's not Taz, but imagine if he was like a Taz style of wrestler in that junior heavyweight division. How badass would that be?
Yeah, and just because he's got a good upper body build and everything, he could go out there and just be a Taz, a suplex machine, and just toss them guys around. But like I said, they may be getting him out there to get that experience in front of the camera and everything.
Yeah.
But it as of right now, I don't want to see him get squashed anymore for a while. Don't bring him back for a little bit, at least.
If you're gonna use him in the junior heavyweight division. Help grow that part of the show. Our pal Willie Bowen says Tyrus is good at a picnic. I love how Willie Bowen hates Tyrus with such a passion. It makes me laugh every week.
I can't stand him either. He's terror at a buffet, Willie. You know this. Do not let him come to your hometown if you have a buffet.
Well, I heard that he closed down a few Golden Corrals, so we'll see.
I haven't seen one in a long time, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. And you know what the funny thing is I hear he's got a great reputation in the back, that the boys all love him. But but I don't get it.
I just don't like his wrestling. Especially since he came to the NWA, he just when he steps into the ring, it's just like, I'm here to collect a paycheck. And when he's on commentary, it's different. It seems like once he's got a mic on in his face and the camera on him, he's a completely different person.
He was pretty good as a commentator.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said something on USA, and it kind of made me feel sad. He's like, "Oh yeah, the whole leaning. I do that on, I got that from Andre the Giant. I lean on people all the time." And I'm like, "Yeah, but Andre the Giant was doing that in the end of his career, where he had trouble walking, and that's not you don't want to be that version of Andre the Giant."
No.
I'm glad you feel the same way. Dave Scooby says, I like that they're shuffling some new talent in at each set of tapings. Not everyone can be the winner. That's true. I mean, that's a great point, Scooby. There are always going to be winners and losers, and it's not, we don't want 50-50 booking either. Like that's what WWE has, is like that 50-50 booking. So you don't always lose, you don't always win. I think unless there's a program for you, you're dispensable. If you're the national champion, you shouldn't be taking L's. If you're the TV champion, you shouldn't be taking L's. Unless it's time to take the belt off of you, that's when you take the L's, because it's got to be meaningful. But taking a loss in a tag match, I mean, I know he didn't take the loss. He didn't get pinned, but Jack Stain shouldn't be on the tag team that loses.
Nope, not at all.
So let's keep going through these results. Next up, we get the Ill Begotten with Danny Deals. And they acknowledge Danny Deals. He says that he's back from suspension. I don't recall him ever being suspended. Now, maybe it's my bad memory, or maybe I just didn't care enough when it happened. I know at one point he stomped, I think he stomped on Anthony Mayweather when he was champion, but I don't ever remember him being actually suspended. So, and he kind of was antagonizing Medusa, like, "Oh, look, you might have suspended me, but I'm back."
I don't
I don't
remember
remember.
what the circumstances were that led to it, but I do remember the suspension.
Oh, you
I do
do? Okay.
remember him getting suspended, yeah. I don't remember what led to it, but it was more of Danny Dills being Danny Dills.
Well, then okay, fair enough. Then they talk about the ill-begotten, the what does he call them? The ill-begotten boys, the IBB.
Yeah.
When they put the microphone in front of Alex Taylor, he shrivels up, which is like, I know it's a work, but it was classic. I loved it.
Yeah.
I love the way that played out. He got lost in the camera. His eyes went big, and it just like what happens to a young talent.
Yep.
You know, your eyes glaze over. You're not ready for this moment. Sometimes that moment can be bigger than the actual wrestler, and that was what was conveyed here. And you got Plunkett, who jumps right in,
And
our
nailed
pal
it.
Jeremiah, and he says, like, look, no one is going to use the ill-begotten as a stepping stool. And I thought that was really good promo work from Jeremiah Plunkett. Again, he proves to be such a useful veteran in this position. You know, he's not just there to do the job. He's there to help make the talent around him better. And I really felt like now I want to see that tag match.
Yeah.
I don't even know who they're facing yet, and I want to see that tag match.
Yep. I like the ill-begotten. They're
growing on me.
Yeah.
And I don't love I don't love Danny Dills by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I could do without him altogether. But I do love Jeremiah Plunkett, not just because he's a fan of the show. Hi, Jeremiah. But also because I think what he's doing in the ring is I said earlier, an NWA original. This is a guy that carried a lot of the NWA territories on his back when it was more of a territorial days. And the fact that he's still out here kind of putting in the work and working with these younger guys, I really think like it's going to help make these talents better. And
I like what Dave says too. That very Arn Anderson vibes.
And I'm sure JP takes that as a huge compliment. Willie Bone says he can put Olive Garden out of business. I think that's in terms of Tyrus. You know, that's why they stopped doing the all day breadsticks, salad, and deal. They just knew that was going to run them to the ground. Okay, so wait, I got to pull that comment down. Okay, so next up we get another video package building up Alwayz versus Cardona. Now, you said, Jeremy, that they already officially announced this as a hardcore match, but everything I watch on this Power program makes it feel like they have not come to a conclusion what this match is going to be.
And that's what I'm getting now too. It's like now the NWA board and Billy are taking both into consideration.
And I mean, I don't mind that. I don't care one way or the other, but especially with Cardona being injured, if it's a death match, if that's the route it ends up going, it's easier to hide an injury in that kind of a match, in that kind of environment than a cage match. But theoretically, if you're Billy Corgan and this is your baby, you want to have the most legitimate match you can have because we already had one screw job ending and a matchup between these two. So a cage match seems like the more appropriate avenue to travel, but who knows which way they're going to go.
Well, and the other thing is, when is Alwayz Ready going on again? When is that going on?
Next week, 9 days.
Yeah. If I'm holding out, if I'm a prospective fan that's coming over from GCW because I want to see my deathmatch king, possibly being a deathmatch or something, I need to know sooner than a week ahead of time. The budgets ain't bounced back yet like that to where I just got $50 laying around to plunk down if I don't have the subscription.
Yeah.
So if I'm a potential fan, why are you making me wait till possibly a day of? Because that's what it feels like now, the day of the show.
And I think that really hurts them, right? I really feel like you have an opportunity here just to say, hey, look, this is the match that we're booking. And I said this said it last year, and I got a lot of heat for it. But like the NWA would announce a card, would announce a pay-per-view, and that card would sell out before even one match was announced. And I said then, and I still stand by it, it sets up a very unpredictable predicament situation. Because if you're a fan, like for me, if I'm going to go to an NWA event, it means I'm going to jump on an airplane, I'm going to book a hotel, and I'm going to get a rental car just to be a part of that environment.
Yep.
But if the matchup, like, if we're going to throw it all on the table, I would not have gone to Crockett Cup if I thought the main event of that match was going to be Aldis versus Cardona. That's not what I wanted to go for. I went because I wanted to see, the British Invasion and the Briscoes and La Rebellion. And, I didn't buy my ticket based on the fact that Aldis was going to be put into the main event with Matt Cardona.
Right.
In fact, to be perfectly honest, I assumed, which was the first mistake, that it would be the Pope in that position. But I digress.
I would have much rather seen that.
Yeah, I would too.
I would much rather seen that for sure.
James says Cardona is having surgery. Yeah, we did talk about that a little bit earlier in the show. And then he said, we don't know if the match will even happen. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, they acknowledged on this episode too, right, that Cardona had been injured and that he would require surgery. But he said that he would be there. But he never once said that he would wrestle. And I think that's very, very important. Because he can be there all day, but if he's not actually in the ring wrestling, it doesn't really matter. So here's hoping that he can tape it up and go one more night. If not, we've painted out a few options already on this show. And of course, you've got some creative minds there in the NWA. I don't always agree with some of their decision making, but I'm sure they can find a solution that's going to work and make sense.
Right.
Knock on wood. What would Luthez do? Says, I hope the NWA remembers the difference between a death match and a garbage wrestling match. I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of deathmatch wrestling anyway. For years called that garbage wrestling, but to each his own. If they can get some, more eyeballs onto the product by having a death match or a garbage match, whatever you want to call it, the idea is to get more people to the show.
I like my wrestling like I like my music, hard and fast, but death metals, no. Anything death related, no.
Exactly. Dave Scooby says none of the Cardona family has been booked for the pay-per-view. I think you mean announced for the pay-per-view. But yeah, I heard Chelsea Green say that she wasn't there, but she might show up. I heard Mickie James say that she's not even booked for the show, but she might show up. So you never really know what's going to happen because anybody on a media outlet can say whatever they want and they get that phone call at the last minute, or it could be booked all along and it's supposed to be a surprise. We just don't know. So we'll have to.
I've never seen a wrestling show that didn't include the disclaimer: cards are always subject to change.
Yeah. And our pal James says, I hope that Cardona tapes it up and goes and does the does the match. Me too.
Yeah.
I win, lose, or draw. I really hope he gets in there and has a match which has mostly a clean finish. With a gimmick match, you're not going to have a clean match, but I don't want outside interference to determine who's going to win the title or lose the title. You know what I mean?
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's still the NWA champion. There's a level, there's a standard that you have to live up to. If you're going to carry that 10 pounds, you got to be able to defend it.
Yeah, and our pal Luthez has a very excellent point. Jack Briscoe won a death match on the very first card I ever attended. He would never wrestle in trash or with trash. I mean, that's a great point. That's an excellent point. But Luthez, how old are you if you watch Jack Briscoe wrestle live, man?
Right.
Just kidding, Lou. I love you, man. Don't be mad. I was just kidding. It's just a joke. It's a gag.
Hey, I'm 44. I'll be 45 this year, so I'll just put it out there.
Hey, I'm right behind you.
By any means.
I'll be 44 in November. I'm all right with that.
Yep.
Next up, we get Kamille with Kyle Davis in the back, and she doesn't want to talk about anything but Tom Latimer winning gold. This seems very suspect to me. These promos are starting to feel like something's going to happen between the two of them, which, you know, they can still have a wonderful marriage on, you know, outside of wrestling and be battling inside of wrestling. But she seems very like a controlling wife. Like, you know, you better go win that title so we can be a power couple. And I don't know if that's a good look for our boy Tom Latimer, but anyways, I every time I hear her say stuff like that, it just makes me kind of, you know, I had an ex-wife too, you know, and that's
it definitely felt like a nagging mom, or you know, just you need to be out. You had the mic in front of you. We're Kyle's there to talk to you. You know, It's great. You know, bring up Tom. Sure that you guys are married now. You're happy. Then talk about what you're gonna do. You know, let Tom talk for himself. He's a big man. As a big man, he can talk for himself. You know, it very All My Children soap opera vibes building up. You know, I'm there to see what happens. You know, just because I want to see it, but I don't know.
Real quick, our buddy Scott Steiner says, I hope if it's a death match, it isn't like the Game Changer wrestling style death matches, but the old school wrestling death matches that didn't involve light tubes and garbage like that. You know, and the little bit I know of Nick Aldis, right? And you're not, I would never say we're friends. He would probably disavow he's ever even met me before. But I do feel like he would not be okay with that. I mean, I could be wrong. Look, he might be all for it, but from what I know of Nick Aldis, like I think he would find that a bit insulting to be in a ring with light bulb tubes. You know,
I do too. And on a side note, I want to say that I noticed whenever Kyle brought up Alwayz Ready to Kamille, it was a huge eye roll.
Yeah,
a huge eye roll. I thought that was hilarious.
She didn't want to talk about it, which is, you know, you're the champion. You're like, it's your job to sell the match. And like the forces outside of the NWA, I feel like are doing a better job of selling this match than the NWA itself. Going back to Busted Open Radio, you know, Kylan King was on the day after she had won the number one contendership on television to battle for the Burke. And so, like, you would think, like, there would be some momentum going in. And I heard on the radio the other day that they're going to try to have both Kamille and Kylan King on sometime next week. So Busted Open's doing a better job of putting this match over than I think that the NWA is at the moment. And then instead of talking about Kylan King, they talk more about Kenzie Page teaming with Kamille to take on Misa Kate and Kylan King on another episode of Power Trip, which will probably be next week. So I just thought the whole promo was kind of weird. It started off with nagging Tom about winning a title. The guy hasn't even won a match in a while. I mean, let's not pull the cart before the horse. Let's get the man on a winning streak first. Personally, I would love to see him as a TV champion. Could you imagine? Could you imagine that guy being TV champion? And then when you look at your, like, let's just fantasy book here for 1 second. You've got Jack Steiner, world's talk about pulling the cart before the horse. You got Matt Cardona as your world's heavyweight champion. Now he's injured, but then you have Jack Steiner as your national champion. The dude looks like a freaking gorilla. Like he's built like a gorilla. They used to call him Vanilla Godzilla, and the reason why is because that dude is built like a monster. And then you got Tom Latimer, who again is just jacked, just huge, and a great wrestler. And then your tag team is La Rebellion, and then your woman tag are the Hex, and your women's world champion is Kamille. I mean, that is a ferocious lineup That's a Murder's Row champion.
Yeah, those grade A killers right there.
Oh, and then Homicide is your junior heavyweight. Don't want to leave out Homicide, but I mean that's a formidable roster. And I put that, passing the sniff test, you put that up against WWE. Yes, Roman Reigns is your unified world global whatever champion, but put him up next to Jack Stane. He doesn't look all that intimidating when you got Jack Stane standing there.
No.
So okay, let's get back to the show. Went off on my tangent now. So then we get the Rhett Titus versus Tom Latimer match. Now, both of these guys could definitely benefit from a victory here. Rhett Titus had wrestled against Homicide in a World Junior Heavyweight title match and lost. He's taken losses to Colby Carino, so he could benefit from a victory here too. And remember, he's your former Ring of Honor TV champion, so another guy who could possibly be that TV champion for the NWA if Tyrus were to, move on at some point. And this match, I felt like was just as good as I was hoping for. In fact, it might have even been better. Titus is completely overpowered by Tom Latimer, which means he has to be creative. He has to be inventive. He's outclassed in terms of power, but he's not outmatched.
No.
In the match, Latimer somehow manages to hurt his elbow, and that becomes a central target for Rhett Titus. We talked about Jeremiah Plunkett sounding like Arn Anderson earlier. Then you've got Rhett Titus in the ring being a tactician, kind of like, just like Arn Anderson, going after that arm any way he can, any way he could put the hurt on it, which neutralizes the power of Tom Latimer. He can't pile drive him. He can't power bomb him. He can't choke slam him. He's very limited in his offense. And I felt like that was a really good storytelling. And again, it takes two to tango here. And by neutralizing Latimer's offense, Rhett Titus looks very, very believable.
Yes.
So I really felt like this was a good match. And even though Rhett Titus lost, he looked great. It's one of those deals of, going over or getting over. This might have been one of the matches where I felt Rhett Titus might have got over, even in defeat. The finish came out of nowhere, really, when Latimer was able to do like a one-handed power bomb, like a one-handed pop-up power bomb, which in and of itself was pretty exciting to see and pretty cool that he was able to pull it off. If Rhett Titus might have been a heavyweight, that probably doesn't happen, but as a junior heavyweight, Latimer was able to take advantage of that and get that 1-2-3. Thoughts on this one?
I could watch these two wrestle numerous times.
Heck yeah.
With Rhett Titus, I had a buddy growing up whenever I was a teenager that would wrestle a pillow.
Yeah.
And he made it look believable. I've watched him take a lariat, or not a lariat, but a hip toss from a pillow and made it look believable. And I could watch Rhett Titus wrestle a pillow, and I think he would pull me in the exact same way. The man is technically one of the best ones that I've seen in a long time whenever it comes to technical just ring ability. He's not the biggest guy, but he looks like $1 million. He looks like he was chiseled on a stone. He looked believable against someone of Latimer's size.
Yeah.
Just because of how cut he is. And having seen him earlier, it made perfect sense, and they told a great story in that ring. Latimer hurt his elbow early on, and then from that point on, there was your story, and they laid it all out beautifully. And
our pal Dave Scooby says, Rhett Titus can go and work a variety of styles, and I mean we saw it on a Tuesday night. Certainly, I'm more used to seeing a junior heavyweight style wrestling, more faster paced, more risk taking, and he just straight out wrestled, and I thought that was really cool.
And on the flip side of that, Latimer, he got in a couple of really big power moves, and his selling was just spot on.
Which again really helped put Titus in a good spot. And like I said, this is one of those examples where this was a great loss for Titus. Because he was in the ring with one of the more credible, believable athletes of the NWA. And even though he's been on a losing streak, not one of us believes that Tom Latimer is garbage. We all have a high opinion of him. And putting him in the ring with Rhett Titus, who is, again, not garbage. He's former Ring of Honor TV champion, and he held that belt just until recently. I mean, you could see that was a really well put together match. Whoever the agent was, or if they put it together themselves, did a wonderful job.
Now, wasn't he part of the foundation with Jonathan Gresham in Ring of Honor as well?
It's funny you should say that, because our pal James H. Jackson just said, when you're part of the foundation in Ring of Honor, you have top-level wrestling ability, and heard Rhett Titus is getting signed for the new Ring of Honor. That's great news for Rhett Titus. That sucks for us NWA fans.
Yes, it does.
I don't know how much flexibility these Ring of Honor contracts are going to have. Now, we know that AEW talent is kind of allowed to go work wherever, but I don't think that there's going to be much competition with the NWA. I don't think there's going to be a lot of, cooperation with the NWA. But that's just me. I don't know. Again, I haven't been told by anyone. And James H. Jackson said he heard all of the foundation are getting signed or already have been signed. That's good for them. That's great. I'm happy to hear it, especially when Samoa Joe is out there as your TV champion in Ring of Honor. I love Samoa Joe, so I am looking forward to what AEW delivers with Ring of Honor. But I don't think we're going to see a lot of these guys still appear in the NWA if that's in fact true. And then I wanted to get to Scott Steiner dislikes modern wrestling's comment. He says, I remember Hangman versus Adam earlier this year. Hangman got his arm hurt, but Cole continued to work on it. Titus worked on Latimer's arm, and it was refreshing to see it. And Latimer would sell it too. And he meant Adam Cole. Yeah, Adam Cole Bebe versus Adam Page, the Hangman. Yeah, exactly. That style of wrestling should never have disappeared, but we seemingly don't get that as much as we should. And it's so scientific. It's so like a mercenary-esque. There's a weakness. Exploit the weakness. Get the victory. And if you don't get the victory, at least do some damage so that you can take advantage of it. I thought it was great storytelling. Like you said, Latimer selling in it really helped make that match even better.
Yes.
And I was very happy with that match. One of my favorite matches of the year.
Yeah.
And speaking of good matches, then that leads us to the main event, Colby and Homicide. Again, exactly what we thought this would be. I very much felt like this was more of an indie-style wrestling than a traditional NWA match. That's not a bad thing. I think incorporating different styles is going to help NWA get a greater fan base. If you can get a lot more of just, there's a time and place for Trevor Murdoch just clotheslining somebody straight to hell, right? There's a place for that. But when you can get like a very high impact, fast-paced match like you get with these two junior heavyweights, I think that's always a plus. And it was a great fight between the two. Homicide has already got victories over Austin Aries, Doug Williams, Peter Avalon, Tony Deppen, Rhett Titus, and Black G's. So, I mean, he's already been out there defending that title. He's really trying to bring some value to it. Things could certainly happen when you have a junior heavyweight match. I think hopefully Jeremy comes back here. There he is.
There I
am. Certainly, there's a lot of things you can't expect in a match like this, but I felt it was a good match. A lot of offense between the two. Neither one of them looked lost. Like I said, this was a good match for Colby Corino. Even in defeat, it felt like he took another step forward. Towards the end of the match, Homicide connects with a Koji cutter, but he can't get the 3 count. And that's like the first time that Homicide hasn't been able to get that 1-2-3 with a Koji cutter. Then Colby connects with his own cutter and was unable to get a victory either. Then this is where it gets a little fun because Colby Carino is one of those, really like shit-eating grin heels, and he does a lot of, cheating to win type tactics. We've seen him do it a lot on NWA USA, but he gets a foreign object, and he's about to smash Homicide with it. Jared Fritz catches him and does the right thing, admonishes him, takes the weapon, and gets ready to dump the weapon out, which Colby beautifully uses that opportunity to kick, and I'll quote Joe Galley on this one, Homicide right in the balls, right in the huevos. Joe Galley is a national treasure, and I'll hear nothing of anyone disparaging that name.
Yes.
But still, Colby can't get a 3 count on Homicide. He tries to connect with the Sunsetter, but can't. And that was probably the only thing that I didn't like about this match, because it looked like a really bad botch. And it looked like he really his face got crushed by Homicide. Like, it just didn't look good.
No.
Then he connects with a super kick on Homicide, and you think that might be it, man. He gets Homicide on the ropes. He goes for a top rope Frankensteiner, but Homicide rolls through it, something we don't see very often. Colby goes through the roll. Homicide gets the 3 count. Homicide retains. What an exciting match. Stuff like this we don't traditionally see in the NWA. I popped for the ending. I thought it was good. What were your thoughts on this one?
I loved it. It was a good match. It had me on the edge of my seat there. More than once I thought Colby had it. It played out very well. I'm glad that Homicide won. I can't wait to see where they take this story moving forward, because I don't feel that it's over between those two. It can't be. It really shouldn't. And I feel that if the rumblings that have came up of Homicide, this being his last hurrah, this would be a heck of a way to go out, and it would be a heck of a story for Colby as well. This would be a great debut for him as a champion, and 100%. One great story to hang his hat on in the future. I took out Homicide.
I'm not saying this is going to happen, but what if they did like an I Quit match or a retirement match or loser leaves town match, and Colby's the guy that puts Homicide out of the NWA? I mean, that's, regardless if it's for the title or not, that's a badge of honor that you wear forever.
And it'll go full circle.
Yeah.
It would bring everything full circle.
Until Homicide's kid is old enough to wrestle and he takes out Colby. And there you go.
And then Colby's kid will be coming along after that.
And then the Lion King plays in the background, the Circle of Life. But I really felt like this was a good show from top to bottom. Power Trip 2 certainly delivered. Like I said, there were some things that were like whatever. Again, going back to the opening match. Matt Vine, I think, is a future star in the making. I hope he continues with the NWA. Eric Jackson should be put in the junior heavyweight division. I feel like that'd be a better spot for him. We're going to have some good, exciting matches next week as we continue to effort towards Alwayz Ready, this is like the first time that they've had this planned out where we don't get a bunch of throwaway matches right before the pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to have some decent matches leading up to the pay-per-view. And I don't know. It looks good. That junior heavyweight match certainly delivered. And we are on the road to Alwayz Ready. So overall, your thoughts on the night, Jeremy?
It like you said, it was overall it was a great show. It had its hiccups, but I don't expect a perfect show from any wrestling show. It's just the nature of the beast. There's always going to be something that I don't care for, or there's always going to be a spot that they could have done better, or something. That's just that's the bane of being a wrestling fan. I'm always going to think they could have done this way, or but it was a fulfilling show. I enjoyed it, and I guess in a way it did kind of build up some interest for me for Alwayz Ready. But again, that it's not so much the NWA that's doing that, unfortunately. So I would like to see them step up after this, because it's a consistent thing with them. This isn't a one-off. They've done this with multiple pay-per-views where they wait till the last minute to announce things.
Yeah.
And, it's just hard to keep people around whenever they have nothing to hang on to.
This is true. I will say the couple things that I feel like the NWA is doing right is the carousel of talent continues to come in. I mean, Kylie King, we hadn't seen her since Empower. Her back on the roster has definitely added something different. One thing that I heard somebody say, I think it was Mickie James, unrelated to tonight's program, but just talking about that match in general. And she said something like, well, Kamille's never faced anyone the same size as her. And I'm like, are we going to just discredit genocide? But
right.
I know why they want us to forget about that, because I think that's the next big build.
Right.
But they definitely have some pieces in place that make a lot of sense. I don't know how much longer we're going to have Doug Williams and Harry Smith. I don't know how much longer we're going to have guys like Chris Adonis. Some of these guys I hope stick around forever, but some of them, they're journeymen. They're going to be here. They're going to go somewhere else. Dirty Dango, Jay the God. I just don't know how much longer any of these guys are going to be around. However, there are some great talents in the NWA. We're seeing the emergence kind of continue to grow. We're seeing more live events happening. We're seeing more pay-per-views getting announced. So they are doing a lot of things right. I want to see more. And
and didn't they say didn't they bring up something about Knox is getting his own show?
It's
Knoxed out or something, or was that a rib?
I think it's more of a rib because it's the show after, because they're filming in Knoxville.
Okay.
So they're calling it Knox Out. As it's still just a regular TV taping, but it'll be a TV taping from the studio, the venue that they're filming the pay-per-view. So I don't really think it's a genuine Mike Knox appreciation night, although stranger things have happened. But as our buddy Dave Scooby pointed out earlier, none of those guys are even have been announced as being at the event yet. Now I'm sure they'll be there because the TV tapings happen, the next 3 days. So I'm sure they'll be there, but as of right now, they're not even announced. Any of the Cardonas are announced, but Matt for the show.
Right.
James says more wrestling like we saw this week. Overall, I was really happy with the wrestling. And I think that's what's keeping us around is these live events really translate into some fun wrestling. Even if the storylines don't always connect 100%, it's just a better program. So,
yeah.
Jeremy, do you have anything you would like to plug before we call it a night, good sir?
You can follow me on Twitter at HJWOTS, Wrestling with the MMA. Keep your eyes open. May have something in store down the road. Just keep your eyes open.
Are you streaming on Twitch now? Are you running games on Twitch now?
No.
Okay.
Nobody wants to watch me play a video game.
I want to watch you play a video game.
I just sit there and run around and get shot at a lot.
You've been watching me play then.
I play Call of Duty Plunders. I run around and get money. I'm really good at that one. But the other ones where I've got to get shot at by people and got to shoot back at them, not so much.
I did a with some pals. We were did a group chat and we were on Xbox Live and we were doing Friday the 13th, which is based on Jason and all of that.
Yeah.
one person gets to be Jason and the other are the campers trying to escape.
Yep.
And I'm like, that would be so much fun to live stream, but the jump scares and the foul language, I don't think.
Oh yeah, I watched a couple people stream it, and it is a fun one to stream. It gets you every time too.
Well, that's going to do it for us then. Again, please stay tuned to these channels. Next week, not next week. The 13th, I'll be talking to a former referee, Jay Stone, who had called matches for the National Wrestling Alliance, worked for Paradigm Pro Wrestling in Las Vegas, WCWC in Oregon, and did work with a lot of the SoCal Indies. He's got a lot of stories he wants to tell about addiction, recovery, stories about working in pro wrestling, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a little bit different conversation than we've been having over the last few weeks, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. I hope you guys will check it out with me, and that'll be Tuesday, the hour after Power. But until then, until next time, you ready to do it with me, Jeremy? We'll see you at the matches. Wait, where's the button? Oh, there it is.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.